Hello everyone, and welcome to Late Night Lies. My name's Dr. Caroline Heim, and this is Dr. Christian Heim on piano. Welcome to our pod show for preventative mental health. And tonight's lie is good and bad don't exist anymore.
Dead and buried.
Gone, finished, gone.
No
more
more
good and bad, no good and bad. That's all, that's it, gone.
Yeah, but that means no good.
I know, that's true. Means no bad too, but anyway, we're going to talk about it, We'll get into that topic. That's our topic for tonight. But welcome everyone to our pod show for preventative mental health. We are so glad that you could join us here in our living room in Australia. Welcome old friends and new. If you've got any comments, if you've got any questions or anything, put them in the chat live or in the comments on YouTube afterwards, and we will answer them the following week. So as I said, we've got a big discussion coming up today, a very interesting discussion, and we have a bit of a treat because we've got some readings today also. Yeah.
Well, there's always a bit of a treat, but I think this week it's an extra fun treat, actually.
It is actually. It's lots of fun. Okay, some readings, and of course we always play you out with some music at the end, so there's more music coming, so stick around. Okay, jumping straight into it?
Let's jump straight in.
All right, into the big ones.
The good of it and the bad of it. Let's have it all.
And the in-between.
In-between?
Is there an in-between? Let's not get into that yet. I'll start him again. That's the problem. Okay, all right, so what do we mean by good and bad?
Wow.
Well, come on.
When you jump into it, you really jump into it.
Good and bad. Let's just go right for the jugular.
Okay. So we're joking around a bit because we're trying to answer one of the answers that we haven't had in all of human history.
We're trying to answer an answer, or answer a question.
We're trying to answer a question that we haven't been able to answer for all of human history.
Yeah.
What is good? What is bad? How do we know? How do these relate to right and wrong?
Yeah.
And how does that work out to what should I do with my life? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what was the question again?
Because, by the way, what should I do with my life is related, of course, to preventative mental health, because that's what we're all on about. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean by good and bad? Let's just talk about the basics.
Okay. Mental health is good.
Yes.
Mental illness is bad.
True.
Right? So preventative mental health is even better.
Yeah.
The virus that we're in at the moment is bad. We have a vaccine coming out. That's good. It's got mutant strains. That's bad. We'll be able to get more vaccines against those mutant strains. That's good.
Would you agree with this? Do you agree with this or not? That's interesting.
So on a pragmatic level, and pragmatism is a branch of philosophy in itself. We know what good and bad is. Things that are of benefit to our body and mind are good.
Yes.
Things that are harmful to our body and mind are bad, right?
Yes.
But once we try to nut out where does good and bad come from, and what are those in-between areas like you talked about, then we get into trouble.
Yeah.
And so the age-old debate is actually between people who think that there is something that transcends this material world. Okay, so that there's a God existence or reason exists apart from anything here, right?
Yeah.
They sort of think that good and evil are outside of humans, and we kind of conform to these laws that are already out there.
So we get our sense of right and wrong from that thing
from
that's
outside.
out there.
That's right. So that's one camp.
Okay,
right?
that's one camp.
And the other camp, to which belong most of the scientists, are empiricists. Well, no. Good and evil only exist for humans. So somehow, if we understand the brain, if we understand the mind, then we'll be able to understand good and evil, and we'll be able to understand how actually to live. And that's the debate that is raging on in our society that we have not resolved, okay? And we're not going to resolve that today. But on a day-to-day level, and what good and bad means for you, for me, and for people out there, we've got some things to say about that. We've got some fun things to say about that.
Okay. So you're saying basically that we're the empiricists then? Because you've said two different
I have.
And I mean everyone, and in between, like.
Well, I actually want to avoid taking sides.
Okay, sure, absolutely.
Right? Because the answer could actually be something higher than both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
And that's another thing that, so that I've just shared a belief, all right?
Okay, yes.
That's not science, okay?
Yeah.
But whenever there's there's a dichotomy. There are two sides that are fighting with each other, okay? Maybe, and this is what I believe, there is something right and valid for both sides.
Yeah.
And we've got to find a higher way of getting it together.
Okay.
And so we find that in society today, okay? The question of what is good and what is bad is a huge question in society today, right? And it crosses the divide between conservative and progressive, theist and atheist, and all of those major discourses, okay? So I want to give a little analogy that will just help us.
Okay, good.
Right. So the analogy is night and day.
Yes.
Right? We know day exists and we know night exists.
True.
Once you know about night and day, you've explored day really carefully and know a lot about it, and you've explored night really carefully and you know a lot about it, you start going, let's explore some of those in-between times. Let's explore the twilight of dawn, right? Where does day begin and night end? Well, it's this area called dawn, which is a little bit of night and a little bit of day. Can you pinpoint 1 second that it changes? Well, of course, in Australia you can, because it's when the kookaburras start laughing.
Yes, the kookaburras. So these wonderful birds, grey birds that laugh just before dawn. Wake us up every morning at what, 4 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. at the moment.
Okay, and same with dusk.
Yeah.
We actually love to live in the twilight. Just before it becomes night, we want to extend the day a little bit. We want to enjoy it. So we're exploring that time. And before we had electricity, it's like we couldn't explore that time.
Yeah.
Now that we have electricity, we can extend the day just a little bit, right? So if you look at all of the big debates in society, in a way what we're doing is we're just exploring the people, if you like, or the concepts or the ideas that are in between night and day. We want to explore that area there, you know, that maybe that line is not quite as distinct as we'd like to think on both sides.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually see what's happening in society philosophically as an extension of our knowledge. We know a lot about day, a lot about night. Let's look at the dawn and the dusk.
Okay, just for interest's sake, and also for depth in our lives, and so that it's not so rigid. Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, that's a very good way of looking at it. It's not just for interest, it's a life and death struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And as a psychiatrist, I get to see a lot of people that live in those in-between states, all right? And it's a hard journey.
Yeah.
So I have a heart for them, right?
Yeah.
But concentrating on those in-between journeys does not mean that day does not exist and night does not exist.
That's right.
They're still there.
They're still there. We still have.
That's right. But day and night, just move over a little bit so that we can explore these in-between areas.
Yeah.
Because there's actually room for all of us.
Okay.
That's the whole thing.
Okay, so you're talking about these people that don't quite fit into one camp or another, and we're using your analogy, I'm talking about.
So we're talking about people who have, let's say, non-traditional expressions of gender, non-traditional expressions of sexuality, non-traditional cultural backgrounds, and people who blend all of these, or non-traditional religious belief systems, and people who transcend all of these.
Yes.
There's room for them all.
Yes, there is.
And here's what I want to say. It's good that there's room for them all.
Of course there is.
It's good that we explore these areas. It's good that we enrich our whole lives.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So going on with the good and bad. Yeah, you were going to go into that a bit more.
Well, okay. So as a psychiatrist, all right, when people come to me depressed or anxious, that's bad.
Yeah.
All right. I never have to ask, well, do you want to just explore this state? Is it just complex and interesting?
Yeah.
Nobody sort of says, please leave me depressed. Please leave me suicidal.
Well, they wouldn't be seeing you in the first place.
That's
otherwise.
That's right. There is something inside them that drives them to say, this is bad.
Yeah.
I've got it bad.
Yeah.
This is not a good state. I've got to do something about that.
Yeah.
So already people, when it comes to health, think in terms of good and bad, healthy and unhealthy. Right, so I use the virus as an example. The virus is just bad.
Yeah,
it's not just something interesting to explore.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone would say the virus is good. I mean, we can learn through the virus, but
I know, and I'm not here to marginalise poor little viruses. All right, God. But we're here to destroy it.
Oh, for goodness sake! Exactly.
That's right. We're here to destroy it.
Oh, oh, we'll let that person into the country or into whatever, because that's okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with the virus, but there is something wrong with the virus.
There is.
Yeah.
But people, that's a different matter.
Yeah.
And we have changed our attitude just in these last 50 years. Our legal system has changed a lot. In fact, this whole question of good and bad is a very big issue for the legal system.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what, as I said last week and a few weeks ago, my students were talking about. They got their sense of good and bad from the law.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of them did.
And a lot of us do.
Yeah.
But the law do not want to put away the wrong people, right?
True.
But they don't want criminals that are going to be harmful to the rest of us out on the streets. Okay, I know that's an oversimplification, and I'm sorry, but basically, you know, there's a lot to look at that, and people like John Rawls look at things like that, and I'm really interested in that, because in psychiatry, I too have to grapple with this question of good and bad.
Who's John Rawls?
John Rawls, he's a justice philosopher.
Okay, good.
And so he writes books on this issue of good versus bad and how that comes out in the legal system. Okay. Right? And it's just really complex. And that's the sum total that I know about the legal system. Right? Okay. But in psychiatry, I tread a line between Solzhenitsyn's idea that the line between good and evil runs through the heart of every human being. Right?
Oh.
That's an amazing statement.
Oh, it is.
That means
really.
that we've all got good and evil in us, right?
Yes.
And this is one of my themes, a lot depends on the choices that we make. So I am there looking at that line and going, is that line blurred or not? Now, an expression of any person, there are blurred lines all over the place.
Yes.
But when somebody comes to me, particularly suicidal, for me this is hard, because if somebody takes their own life, I see that as bad.
Yeah.
My job is to prevent that, to do what I can to prevent that.
Well, that's a Hippocratic oath, isn't it?
It's part of the Hippocratic oath, yes. Yes, to preserve life.
That's right, yeah.
We'll get back to that at some stage. But also as a psychiatrist, I see that these questions of what is good and what is evil in all of society plays out in all of us. We look at ourselves and sort of go, okay, what's good in me? What's not good in me? Should I even be thinking this way? And so psychiatrists in particular, and I'm thinking of Carl Jung, psychiatrist from early last century, saw this as an archetypal experience that we all have to go through.
Okay, so you... Archetypes.
Archetypes.
Yeah. Let's talk about archetypes.
Let's talk about archetypes.
What are archetypes? We'll get some definitions.
Well, I'm
here.
so glad that you asked.
He loves talking about this stuff.
I do like talking about archetypes. All right, but archetypes is misunderstood.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, it is. It is, because a lot of people see Jung's ideas of archetypes and collective consciousness as some mysterious way of looking at the world, some mystery that we can't fathom, and it's almost a religion. That's what people say. All right?
Okay.
But I want to look at it a bit more practically.
Okay.
All right? So as a psychiatrist, you get to see a lot of people. You get to hear a lot of journeys, okay? And I've heard thousands upon thousands of life stories. And after a while, unless you're thick like I am, you sort of go, okay, there's a few patterns here.
Yeah.
There are a few things that everybody's going through.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we talk about, let's take the word typical, because the word typical is in archetype, all right? So what's a typical day? A typical day is when you go and get some work done, you come home in the evening, you eat, and you watch some television, whatever. A typical day. We talk about a typical Australian, okay? We talk about typical attitudes. We talk about a typical football player. We talk about all these things typical. And mind you, in our society, we're moving away from seeing things as typical.
Definitely, yes.
We're exploring the atypical.
Yes, that's right.
Now,
and celebrating it.
And celebrating.
Which is wonderful.
That's right. So atypical basically means things that are not typical. And then we have a word that says stereotypical.
Yeah.
Right? So a stereotype, like Australians, Australian males drink beer, wear thongs, flip-flops for those of you in North America, all right?
Yeah, don't use that name.
Because thongs mean something different, I believe.
They do.
Okay, so flip-flops, they wear flip-flops, drink beer and say g'day, eat a meat pie and say no worries all the time.
That's right. And so easygoing, you know.
So easygoing,
easygoing.
Okay. So, and we're doing it ourselves. We're starting to get into a stereotype.
It's true.
So the word stereo means solid.
Yes.
Solid in the sense of fixed. It's a fixed idea that we think is typical of a group of people.
Yes, yes.
And we're trying to break those down. So now we get to a word, archetype.
Yeah.
Right? So that word arche, which we find in archaeology.
Yes.
So in other words, archaeology is looking for ancient stuff, for primordial stuff, if you like, or architect, the originator of an idea.
Yeah.
Right? When it comes to an archetype, it's the original mold of types.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
So that makes it a bit easy to understand.
Yeah,
Original
yeah.
mold for type. So that means, let's take a human life. There are a few things that all human lives are going to go through. It's part of the mold of being a human.
Yes, yes.
Birth.
Yeah.
Birth is an archetypical experience.
Yes.
Okay. Death.
Yes.
Death is an archetypical experience because we all have to go through it.
Both of those, yes.
Leaving home.
Well, maybe it's not for everyone.
But actually, everybody,
nearly everyone,
it may be delayed.
Yeah, that's true.
But everybody faces this question of leaving home.
Yes, yes.
Okay, committing to a love partnership and starting a home of your own.
Yeah.
Right. That's an archetypical experience.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I do know that less than 1% of the population will not have that question.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But for 99%
Wow,
of us,
that's a big percentage.
That's a big percentage.
Only 1%.
That's right.
Whew.
For 99% of us, the question of what it means to have a love partner
yeah.
is something that we have to go through.
Yeah.
So these are archetypical experiences, right? Now let's go to archetypical figures. And again, we're talking about Carl Jung here.
Yeah, yeah.
So in this journey through life, okay, and that's the other one that I wanted to add, having to reconcile things like good and evil, Carl Jung saw as an archetypical experience.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so archetypical figures.
Yes.
So are there some figures in our lives that everybody has? Well, the archetypical figure is a mother.
Yeah.
Right? Because any person has a mother. And if they do not have a mother, then somebody will become a mother figure.
Yes.
So it's archetypal. What is a mother supposed to do? A mother is not just a person. A mother is a source of security, a source of acceptance, a source of
love.
want. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But you can see how archetype
Yes.
gets close to stereotype as well.
Yes, you can.
And we're breaking some of these boundaries,
yeah.
but that's the archetypical ideal of the mother figure.
Okay, all right. So I'm getting more of a hold. You're speaking my language a little bit
Am
more
I?
here,
Okay,
yes.
good.
Because we have something in theatre called stock characters. So that's similar, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so
Well, yeah.
in a way.
In a way, yes, types. They're types, aren't they?
They are certainly types,
Yes.
okay? And they're not necessarily stereotypes, they're actually types, okay? So they're in types in society, like the young lovers, okay? Or the blocking parents, or the fool in Shakespeare's theatre.
Yeah.
And these, of course, these stock characters go back to ancient Greece. And the ancient Greek theatre, but you mainly see them in restoration plays of the 17th century and also in commedia dell'arte, an Italian form of theatre in the 16th century.
Yeah.
But they're fun to play around with, okay? And they create a lot of comedy, and they're mainly used in comedy. But there's certainly those, there's the rake and there's the bully and there's all these different characters.
And they're characters that we understand, because we come across these characters in our lives.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
So you've actually just mentioned some of the well-known archetypes.
Right.
Okay, you started off with the lovers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that whole idea of falling in love, becomes an archetypal experience. You talked about the blocking parents.
Yeah.
The
We have a
that
few
are
of
in your
those
way.
today. Still.
We never block, do we? No.
We don't block.
No.
We just put huge mountains in the way, don't we? No.
So they've got to walk a little further. Okay, so what? Little exercise never hurt anybody.
No, it's true.
And you talked about another one, the fool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there are times when we make fools of ourselves, when we just couldn't give a damn about our duty.
Yeah.
All right? These are archetypal figures. So there's a few more archetypal figures. A mentor.
Yes.
All right? You, as somebody in theatre, would have had a mentor to let you know your craft, to know some secrets, okay?
True.
And so I, as a musician, have had mentors. Business people have mentors. And in every field, there's somebody who will take you under their wing to show you something, something that you need to experience together with them. Okay, so that becomes an archetype, right? But the one archetype that I want to talk a lot about today is the hero archetype. The hero.
The hero.
Yes,
Oh yeah, good. Yes, go ahead.
No, there's a hero in all of us.
That's right. Okay, so in contemporary, because we were talking a bit about the 17th, 16th century, or going back there to the stock characters, but in theatre, of course, we talk about the contemporary heroes as being the superheroes in the action movies and and all of that. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk... Okay, we've decided on 3 films that we're going to talk about, okay, and they're kind of superhero films, right? But yes, that's part of it, and the strange thing is that these superheroes, we can identify with them, okay? But why can we identify with them?
Yeah.
Do you have powers to see through walls, knock down any person that you see, okay? Multiply yourself, have a shield that can withstand absolutely everything, all right? Or become fluid, become fire, become all sorts of things, become invisible. Yeah. These are all the superpowers that these superheroes have.
It would be lovely if we could do all of that. And which superhero do you identify with?
Well, this is a strange thing.
But it is true, but are we not identifying with the goods in them, perhaps?
Oh, you are so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I can't identify with somebody who has X-ray vision.
That's right, yeah.
I can't identify with somebody who can outrun absolutely everybody on Earth.
Yeah.
But when we see a movie that has superheroes in it, that's not what we identify with. What we identify is, wow, wouldn't it be great to be the person who saves the world this time?
We all want to save the world.
Yes, we do.
We do.
We do. We do.
Okay, we're wired that way, are we?
All right. Well, this is why I use Jung, and I started off with Jung as a psychiatrist with people in front of him, and he sees the journey that each of us overcome. All right. So I want to tell you some about some of the heroes that I know.
Please.
Okay. The young man who overcame an amphetamine addiction. That guy is a hero. The woman who was able to get a job even though she was badly abused as a child by her father, all right? The man who comes home from war angry, and all that he does is hits people. He overcomes that. He's a hero, all right? The woman who is going through a terrible depression because her whole life has changed because she has had a child. And she doesn't understand why there is such a thing called postnatal depression, all right? That really gets her down. And we work together and we overcome that. And these are heroes that we never mention.
They're overcomers.
They're overcomers.
And that's the thing. There's an obstacle and they overcome it.
And that's the hero's journey.
Yeah. And sometimes against so many odds. Look at those, your patients, such really, really dreadful things that have happened to them, or huge experiences that are very difficult to get overcome.
Yes, and we don't talk about them.
We don't talk about them. We definitely don't talk about those heroes.
We don't talk about those heroes.
It's very private, so you can't necessarily always talk about it.
That's exactly right. But this is why it's important to see movies.
Yeah.
Because the odds that superheroes overcome just to save the world, I know this is all in fiction, but we go to the movies in droves.
Yeah. And does that help our psyche sometimes? Does it uplift us? Does it make us stronger in some way?
All right. I actually, well, not just I, but there is a belief that it doesn't just help our psyche, it reflects our psyche.
Wow.
In fact, the reason why all of this is so successful is because of what Jung hit upon, this idea of archetypes. That when we see hero movies, it touches something in... okay, it doesn't have to be Transformers all the time, okay?
Oh my gosh, thank goodness. We had boys, so I had to watch a lot of action movies. I'm over them to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Transformers, oh my gosh, how many?
But we will talk about other movies that had the same journey in it.
Yeah.
Because what Jung said is that, what he saw was that life is a struggle. And to help somebody in psychotherapy, you help them map out a way that they can overcome what they need to overcome in life. And so they go on what's called a hero's journey.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So now I'm going to move away from Carl Jung. I'm going to move to Joseph Campbell, who studied Jung.
Yes.
And what he did was he mapped out in more detail this idea of a hero's journey. So he said, okay, can I look in more detail? What does a hero actually have to do? When does something happen? When does something not happen? All right. And the hero's journey is basically this. You start out in a normal town or a normal life.
Yeah.
You go on an adventure.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous and challenging.
Yes.
And then you come back home. But you come back a changed person. Now, that's the basic structure, right? What Joseph Campbell did was look at all of that journey, and he was looking at novels, fairy tales, stories, and all these things that Jung would say is in our collective unconsciousness, okay? And he actually outlined 17 stages in the hero's journey.
Okay.
Right.
Are you going to give them all to us today? Or no, I'm going to say
no, they're all on the internet.
Yeah,
you can look them up. There are various versions of this.
Okay, yes.
The one that's most popular has 12 stages.
Okay.
In it, okay? I'm not going to give you the 12 stages either, but basically, you know, there's the start, there's the final conquest, there's the trials, there's finding out who's on your side and who's not on your side, and when you look at all of this, you sort of go, oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Until we got to a film producer by the name of George Lucas. He created the whole of the Star Wars. And he said, oh, I just based all of the Star Wars movies on Joseph Campbell's hero journey.
He didn't. My goodness. Star Wars. Wow.
So if George Lucas says this, we all go, oh my gosh, we better know about this. So all of a sudden, the ideas of Joseph Campbell became sort of really popular because they were hit movies. The Star Wars movies were hit movies. They were. And so all of a sudden, you have all of these writers for television series, internet, movies in particular, looking at that hero's journey, right, and saying, how can I make a good movie out of this? Right. So, fast forward to the research that I did for all of this, and I looked at our top 50 movies, the biggest grossing movies of all time. So I looked at the 50 top movies, and in my estimation, the number of movies that are based on the hero's journey is 50.
50 out of 50, 100%.
50 out of 50, 100%
My
movies.
gosh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
And so what I did was, is you type in a movie, okay, let's say Avatar, and type in hero's movie, and good grief, somebody has done an analysis of the movie Avatar according to the hero's movie. Type in Frozen, hero's movie, hero's journey, somebody's done the analysis. Despicable Me, The Incredibles, all the superhero movies.
Of course,
right? But all of the top 50 movies of all time, grossing,
hero's journey.
They all have the hero's journey.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So when you said to me, does this uplift us? All right. That's why I actually thought it does, but it does so much more. It actually reflects the wish of all of us, right? We all wish to be a hero, just a little bit. Could I save just a little bit of the world today, right? And I suppose one of the things that I want to say, and that's why I used some of my patients' journeys as examples, is overcoming things in ourselves that we need to overcome is part of the hero's journey. Finding the vaccine is part of the hero's journey, right? Having a good relationship is challenging, but it's part of the hero's journey.
There's obstacles, we overcome them, and we move on. And
it may not follow Joseph Campbell's 17 steps, right?
And
the other thing that I need to say is that not all movies follow Joseph Campbell's steps. Okay, so
you're talking about contemporary movies at the moment,
I'm talking about all movies.
All-time movies.
All-time movies.
Yeah, wow.
But it's in the last 3 decades that movie writers have consciously said, I'm going to embed the hero's journey into these movies.
How many years in the last?
Well, it was about in the 80s that George Lucas sort of let us know about Joseph Campbell. And so since then, more and more, to the point where any action movie that you see, action movies in any case, all right? But even, as I said, a movie like Avatar, a movie like Titanic, which we'll look at it a little bit, they all embed the hero's journey.
Yeah, wow. So in theatre originally they had something called the well-made play, which had a certain structure. That also had obstacles for achieving the ends. But then that sort of, once we moved into cinema, things started changing, and of course, I mean, obviously they use those kind of tropes still in their movies, but
could you explain a trope?
It's someone with it's like someone that trolls on the internet. No, well, kind of like a motif.
A motif. And as you said, this is from ancient Greece. And I don't want to say that Joseph Campbell invented the hero's journey. all that he saw himself doing was to codify and to express something that we as humans have been doing for centuries and centuries.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, let me just clarify that.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about the well-made play, it wasn't ancient Greece. That was actually just Aristotle's play structure from that period.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the 19th century that we came and we created this specific play structure.
Yes, but in the idea of the structure of the play, Aristotle would have been thinking about these journeys.
He would have been, absolutely. Well, there's plenty of heroes and such in Greek theatre.
Which is, and it's because we go to these movies in droves.
We do,
all right? So it's part of our, I was going to say collective unconsciousness, all right? But in a way, what draws us is that we see so much that is basic in life. It is archetypical, the whole experience of a movie. Many make you feel good. Many make you think. And the ones where evil wins out at the end, so in other words, this is not the hero's journey, they tend not to be big grossing movies, or comedies, you don't always have a hero's journey. And some relationship movies are not on the hero's movie, documentaries certainly are not. And there are whole different ways of structuring movies.
Of course, but the top 50
if you want a big hit.
That's it. That's the formula in that way. Okay, all right. But it's reaching for something inside us, you know, it's something, it's psychologically that's going on, that we identify with the good or whatever it happens to be.
Yes, and remember the whole point of making a movie is to make money, all right? You want it to be a hit because the stakes are high. You're going to invest millions of dollars, so you want it to be a success. So this formula is a success, I believe, because it reflects something in all of us, all right? If we are down because of a coronavirus crisis at the moment, we can go on an adventure, with Beauty and the Beast. We can go on an adventure with Aladdin in Aladdin. We can go on an adventure with a lion, or we can. So I'm going through the different types of heroes. In fact, there's been 2 lion heroes in the top 50 movies.
Lion King, obviously.
Lion King and Lion King.
Oh, Lion King 1 and Lion King 2.
But you have male superheroes, that's the normal one, Female superheroes, we're looking at Wonder Woman, You have a family of superheroes. This is the Incredibles, right? Now, on top of it, they're dysfunctional. They don't have to be a perfect family.
That's right.
They just all happen to have superhuman powers.
Good.
A group of people, so the Avengers, Endgame, all right, they become heroes. When it comes to war movies, it's a country that becomes a hero, all right? And sometimes the whole of humanity becomes a hero. This is Independence Day, when we have to fight off those alien invaders.
I love the idea of a country being a hero,
So you're smiling a bit more. I'm feeling a bit better because
so keep talking movies.
Because this is appealing in a very entertaining way to the good in us, to the side of us that wants good to win out. There are very few people out there that sort of says, well, I hope this virus takes us out. Right? Why? Because that would be bad. That would be bad. We want the good. We want to get back to life as it was. We want people to stop dying. We want to get on top of this virus.
And we want to feel good too. We want to feel good. We're feeling bad at the moment.
Yeah, we are.
We want to feel good.
And we want to win.
Yeah, that's
against
true.
the virus.
That's right. It's that journey.
Struggle. Okay. And you can bet in 10 years' time there will be movies on this virus.
Oh, you bet. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right.
Okay. Can we get into the movies?
I want to get into the movies.
Okay,
yes.
Let's have some fun.
Let's talk about our movies.
Now, these movies are huge experiences, all right? So the cinematography and the music in particular moves us emotionally, unbelievably. And the story is central. And I find myself getting emotional just researching some of these movies because I remember moments from movies that are just amazing. All right, so I'm going to start off with Titanic.
Yes.
All right. In Titanic, the hero's journey is embedded in Jack and Rose. All right, so we've got a couple that are heroes, and we need both of them, all right? Because the heroic struggle that they go through, all right, is, first of all, Jack actually starts the adventure by winning a ticket, and Rose starts her adventure by saying, no to the upper class dance and going down and having some fun with Jack.
Yeah.
So they're both exploring a journey. And in the end, yes, Jack dies, but his name lives on in Rose. Okay, and of course the painting that he did, and the whole story of Titanic.
It's a lovely story.
It is a lovely story.
One of my favourites, yeah.
But why? I have seen at least 2 documentaries of Titanic.
Yes.
And you know what? They were more informative.
Of course.
They may even have been closer to the truth.
Yeah, but it's not fiction. It doesn't take you on that wonderful journey into the imagination. And
documentaries don't have the hero's journey.
They don't. Okay? No, that's true.
And by having a male and a female character, most everybody in the community could identify with somebody.
Yeah.
If only I could have done that in my life.
Yeah.
If only I took that chance.
Yeah.
If I could only overcome like that.
Yeah.
And then you hope that they're going to do well, and you go with them on this journey. And there are some amazing moments. And the moments are so amazing because we are on this journey with them. Rose was going to kill herself, all right, early on. But she doesn't, right? And that's because of the journey that she went on.
Yeah.
So just in there, that would appeal to people that I have seen who have thought about killing themselves, and they overcame it. And that feels good because they're still around.
And they're heroes. They overcame something amazingly difficult.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You won't get to hear about them. We'll hear about Rose and Jack, but we won't hear about them. So that's Titanic.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Which is the next movie?
Next movie. We're going to go to... Yes. We've chosen 2. Okay, let's go to Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Have you seen Wonder Woman?
All right, we're actually talking about the first Wonder Woman.
Yeah, the first one's much better.
Movie.
Yeah.
Not the recent one.
Yeah, so the first one. See the first one.
Yes. Okay. So based on a comic character, all right. And look, I have to let you know, when I do psychotherapy with females, all right, they too want to save the world. I have some people that I work with that as children, they wanted to learn the bow and arrow. They wanted to ride horse as well. They wanted to get out there with a sword, and they wanted to become warrior woman. It's an archetype. Yeah. Okay? And it's a very interesting archetype because it's got to be strong, right? But it's got to be feminine as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think they achieved it in Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, they did really well.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about it a bit more after we get you to do a little scene from...
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so this is as close as we'll get to a performance about these things because we can't reproduce the music, the cinematography, the big experience. So we're looking at this in a very cerebral way.
But hopefully you've seen it, or you will see it anyway.
Yes. Yes. And if you've seen it, cast your mind back to this scene. Wonder Woman is set in 1917. Wonder Woman, Diana, is a goddess. Her love interest is Steve. He's a fighter pilot for the First World War. And in this scene, they're walking through the trenches of the Allied forces in France, okay? And across this field is the enemy. And that field in between is called no man's land, because if a man were to go there, he'd be shot down straight away. So nobody can cross no man's land. But there are people who need saving, and Wonder Woman has other ideas.
Steve, these people have lost everything. Food, clothes, houses, family. Some have been taken as slaves. We cannot leave without helping them. These people are dying. They have nothing to eat. They've been enslaved. Women, children. This battalion has been here a year and they've gained nothing. On the other side is the enemy pointing machine guns at every square inch. This is no man's land. And you say no man can cross it. Well, I can. I know we can't save everyone in this war, but that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you. And straight after that dialogue, Diana gets into a Wonder Woman gear. she gets up into no man's land.
Yeah.
She runs towards the enemy.
Yes.
They start pelting her with machine gun fire. She holds it back with a shield.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very interesting thing because she is feminine as well as being heroic.
Yeah.
So we don't want her leaving a trail of destruction, blood here, gore there, and bits of body parts everywhere. So she is a defensive hero. She has a shield to take all the attack, all right? She also has this whip, all right, to use the enemy's force against them.
But it's nice and clean.
Oh, it's all nice and clean. Okay.
Nice and clean.
And then the guys follow her and, of course, shoot all the enemy. So she saves the day.
Yeah, true.
All right. So a little bit later in the movie comes her final confrontation. This is her hero's journey where the good in her has to face the evil, not quite in her, but in her family. All right. So she confronts her half-brother, who is Ares, the god of war. There's this woman here that they're sort of squabbling over. Ares is sort of saying, you should just kill her. And Diana is actually trying to make that decision. She makes that decision, and this is how she destroys her brother and evil.
You say humans are unworthy of my sympathy in every way. But you're wrong about them. They are unworthy, but they are so much more. They do not deserve my protection, but it's not about what you deserve. It's about what you believe. And I believe in love. Goodbye, brother. And she kills him.
She destroys him.
She destroys him.
Okay, but again, she doesn't use her own strength. What she actually does is she gathers up all of his anger energy in her arms and then shoots it towards him and puts this giant hole in him and destroys him forever. Okay?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
So that's her struggle between good and evil, and that is a representation of the struggle that is in all of us. Pretty good stuff,
yeah,
right?
it's really good stuff. It's really good stuff. You can see it with new eyes now. I think so. And also, we don't even know what's going on psychologically half the time when we see these movies. We come out and we've gone through this huge experience psychologically.
Huge.
And I mean, there's always that sort of, oh my gosh, that transition back to the real world, isn't there, after a movie, where you have to adapt to, oh, I'm going to go and put my popcorn in the bin now, and I'm going to... Did you like the movie? I mean, and that's such a mundane question compared to this huge journey we've been on. And inside us, and we really need that time to take it in, hey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay. On to the next movie?
Yes, next movie.
Okay, next movie. The Dark Knight Rises.
Which
Christopher
I haven't
Nolan.
seen. Yes,
2012.
Yep.
Right? This movie, all right, this has huge amount of layering in this movie. When this movie came out, Christopher Nolan, who wrote the script and the screenplay together with his brother, told us this is actually about the same things as A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan.
Yep.
He's got a degree in English literature.
Yeah.
So that means when he puts together a movie, all right, he will give us all the action, he will give us all the wonderful music and all the cinematography that we can enjoy.
Yes.
But he's embedding ideas. All right?
Yeah, he's drawing from his literature background to a certain degree,
Not just even to a certain degree, but this is A Tale of Two Cities.
Yeah.
So we've got to look at A Tale of Two Cities, all right? So let's look at A Tale of Two Cities.
Yes.
This is a well-known novel by Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
It is, well, let's have the opening of it because this will set the scene, and then I can talk about how A Tale of Two Cities is transferred into Gotham City.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct to hell. What an opening.
We're not finished.
Oh, we're not finished. Sorry. Okay, continuing.
Yeah, please.
A king with a large jaw and a queen with a plain face on the throne of England. A king with a large jaw and a queen with a fair face on the throne of France. It was the year 1775. Spiritual revelations were conceded to England at that favoured period. France, less favoured, rolled with exceeding smoothness downhill.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right.
That's the opening.
Okay, that's the opening. But
yes.
Let's look at the opening up until when you said, sort of what an opening, because it's an amazing opening
really
to a novel.
Yeah. Mm.
And Charles Dickens is saying, I'm talking about good, I'm talking about bad. I'm talking about spring, I'm talking about winter.
Yes.
I'm talking about hope, I'm talking about despair. I'm going to contrast these two things and I'm going to take you on a journey. A hero's journey, nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
So he is contrasting London and Paris.
Yes.
Not that I want to say that London was heaven, because London had its evil, just like every city and each of us do. But Paris was about to go into the French Revolution. And he has this wonderful image early on in the book where there was chaos on the streets, there were food shortages, and somebody spills a bottle of wine. And people go to lap it up to try to get some food, okay? And somebody's looking at this and sort of saying, yeah, this is only wine now, but in a few years' time, this will be blood. Right? It's just an amazing image.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
All right, so Paris is about to descend into hell.
Yes.
Just like Gotham City is about to descend into hell.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's a revolution on, just as there is a revolution in Gotham City. Some other people are going to take over the city and hold the whole city to ransom. And just as in the French Revolution, these people went about killing off the aristocracy. They held court, but it's what we call a kangaroo court. It wasn't a real court. They were always going to find them guilty and always trial them to death. That's exactly what happens in Gotham City.
Yes.
All right, there's these trials, and you get either exiled or killed, but it doesn't matter. You'll be sent out over the ice until you die anyway. Right? This is all showing the French Revolution.
I love your analysis. It's great.
well, it actually isn't my analysis. It is Christopher Nolan saying this is a tale.
Those ideas.
This is a tale of two cities.
Yeah.
Right. How much further should I go? Because there's some major themes here. All right.
Yeah. Anything that's is appropriate for the good and bad.
Yeah, but I'm going to get you to read out the end of the novel.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Now, Christopher Nolan actually puts these words into the movie. So Batman has died. We're at his graveside in the cemetery, and Commissioner Gordon has got the book A Tale of Two Cities in his hands, and he's quoting out of it. We're going to quote a little bit more than they do in the movie, because the movie doesn't have time.
Yeah.
And I just got to set that up a bit, because this is not about Gotham City, this is about French Revolution Paris. So we are with a person by the name of Sidney Carleton, an Englishman, who was an alcoholic and never made anything of his life.
Yeah.
But he is going to be guillotined to save somebody else's life, right? And he's just met this woman who's also about to be guillotined, and she said, how can you be so strong about this? And he basically says, well, one day people will remember me, and I've had a pretty bad life, and I want to do something good, and this is my way of doing something good. So they're in line, waiting to go up to the scaffold, to the guillotine, to have their heads chopped off.
Yeah.
All right? And that was the reference early on when Charles Dickens said that Paris was rolling downhill. So we're rolling downhill to the guillotine. Heads will roll. So this is Sidney Carleton, just the last paragraph from A Tale of Two Cities, read out at the gravesite of Bruce Wayne, alias Batman.
In the future, I see a beautiful city and a brilliant people rising from this abyss, and in their struggles to be truly free, in their triumphs and defeats through long years to come. I see the evils of this time gradually wearing out. I see the ranks of new oppressors who have risen on the destruction of the old perish by that same guillotine. I see the lives for which I lay down my life, peaceful, useful, prosperous, and happy in England, which I shall see no more. They remember me. I have a sanctuary in their hearts. I see a man winning his way up the path of life. His son bears my name. I hear him tell the child my story with a tender and faltering voice. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known.
Okay, wow.
Again, you've got to read this. It's fantastic.
It is.
Oh
it is.
my
It's
gosh.
an amazing,
yeah, it
amazing
really
book.
is. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
we've got to pick that up
yeah.
a bit more and tear it apart. All right. A few things. Charles Dickens was making a comment on his society of 1859 when he published this, to say a few things about what was going on in his society in the day. All right. And he was using the French Revolution to do that. There's a possibility that Christopher Nolan was saying the same thing about our society in 2012, that there are a few things going on that went on in Gotham City and went on in A Tale of Two Cities.
Okay.
All right,
okay,
so
okay.
let me just pick this a bit
yeah.
apart. I have to talk about what happens after the book ends.
Yes.
Because Sidney Carlton has died and he goes to heaven.
Oh,
so
in the movie?
No, not in the movie. I'm not talking about the movie. I'm just talking about the book.
Well, yeah, you need to be clear about
Okay,
that.
sorry, I'm talking about the book, A Tale of Two Cities,
yeah.
right? And he says that it's a better rest that he goes to.
Okay, right, yeah.
So he redeems himself, right? His hope is a Christian hope of rising from the dead because he did something good.
Yes.
One of the biggest themes in A Tale of Two Cities is not just redemption, where we want to have something atoned for in ourselves when we've done something badly, that we want to be okay again, right? But there's a theme of resurrection. Okay, so resurrection is a really powerful word. We don't use it often because it means people coming back from the dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen too often, right? So this was Sidney Carlton's resurrection. The person who he replaced was Charles Darnay. He's now living with his wife and kids in London, so that was his resurrection. But the whole of Tale of Two Cities is actually about a doctor called Dr. Alexander Manette, because he was in prison in the Bastille for 18 years.
Wow.
And they released him. So he was, and this is Charles Dickens' words, recalled to life.
Oh.
It's time for you to live again.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
In fact, at the very opening of the novel, we meet a character by the name of Jerry Cruncher. Now, Jerry Cruncher works as a porter for this bank. Right? But at night, he's also a grave robber. Okay? He is what's called a resurrection man. His job is to get dead bodies and to give them second life by giving them to surgeons and doctors to study. This is the only way that doctors could study.
Yes, of course. I have heard about that.
So he earns the name Resurrection Man. Okay, and this is what he does at night because it's illegal, of course.
Yeah.
But his name, Jerry Cruncher, has the initials JC.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
So do you think it might be a reference to Jesus Christ?
I think so,
who rose from the dead. Okay. So yes, of course.
Resurrection,
What Charles Dickens does is he gives each of his characters a name that means something. Absolutely all of his characters, well, not all that I know of, have a name that means something. Okay, so Jerry Cruncher, I mean, he's not a good person, right? He's not the son of God or anything. He's a pretty ordinary sort of a bloke, right? But he's a resurrection man. So that tells us that this is going to be a theme for the whole novel. And it happens time and time again. There's somebody an aristocrat that plays dead, this is Fulton, so that he doesn't get killed by the mob.
Okay, where are you going with this as far as good and bad and all of that?
Well, life is good, resurrection is good, dying is bad.
Yeah.
Okay, doing bad stuff is bad.
Yeah.
Redeeming yourself by doing good stuff is good.
Yeah.
Right? So that is basically the stuff that's in A Tale of Two Cities. Mm-hmm. Now we go to Gotham City.
Yes, okay.
Right?
Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises. First of all, there's just redemption for so many people who have done wrong in the previous movie. All right? Alfred, all right, his assistant, says, I haven't done a good job of bringing you up, Bruce. Bruce Wayne, says Mark Cain. So I'm leaving you, okay? But at the end, we see him again. He gets redeemed, okay? Because he hasn't done a good enough job. Batman himself, at the start of the movie, is a shell of a man, okay? He's made some mistakes and it doesn't look like he's doing terribly well. He redeems himself. Catwoman, all right, she's a burglar and she actually betrays Batman. She redeems herself in the end. Blake just wants to be a good cop. Foley leaves the police force but then redeems himself and dies a hero. Commissioner Gordon redeems himself because he had some corruption, and it goes on and on. Even the evil guy, Bane, we find out that he's being evil for good motives because he loves somebody. So it's sort of like, what's good and what's evil? And this is part of what we're exploring. We're exploring that in-between area of good and evil. Okay. But aside from all of that, the big theme is resurrection.
Yeah, I was going to ask when that came.
That's right. So the title of the movie, The Dark Knight Rises, may as well have been The Dark Night of the Soul Ends Because of Resurrection.
Yeah.
Right. I know that's a bit big.
And philosophical.
Well, and also Christopher Nolan's title is just a bit better than mine. Okay. All right, but let's go through it, all right? But Bruce Wayne, Batman, gives his life just like Sidney Carlton does, but not going to the guillotine. He helicopters out, well, not helicopters, but in his bat machine, this big bomb, and he gives his life to save the people of Gotham City. But Batman dies at least twice in the movie and comes back to life.
Again, does he?
Yes, he
I
does.
have not seen this movie. Okay,
at least twice. He comes back to life. So he is resurrected.
Right, yeah.
Right? And there are other people that get resurrected along the way. There's this professor who put together the nuclear bomb. We all thought he was dead. Then all of a sudden he's in front of a crowd. Oh, here's the professor. Okay. So he too gets resurrected. After Bruce Wayne dies, we see him together with Alfred. So Bruce Wayne, Batman, gets resurrected. What they do with the character of Blake is they resurrect the character of Robin. He reveals himself because, you know, we killed off Robin because we didn't like a dynamic duo. Then he goes to the Batcave, and this platform on the Batcave rises out of the water. Resurrection, resurrection, resurrection.
Yes.
The point of this all is it touches something in us that wants a second chance. Yeah. We want to do good. We want to save the world. Now, Batman is always on the verge of doing the wrong thing, right? So we're exploring that in-between area between good and bad, but we still have good winning out.
It triumphs, and it does tend to triumph in all these action movies, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
That's the thing. That's the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Right? We are all wiser for it. Even if people die, it's for a reason. And the big thing, of course, is the police, all right? The police are trapped underground for most of the movie. It's as though they're in this giant tomb.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just laughing because you're like a pig in mud. You just love talking about this so much.
I know. And then
anyway, keep going.
And then like somebody rolling away the stone from a grave. All right.
Okay.
The way to this tomb that all the policemen are in gets taken away, and these thousands of policemen come pouring out of this grave.
Nothing subtle about it. No little innuendo. It's sort of like straight in your face.
That's right. It really is. But you can see it. You can see what Christopher Nolan was getting at.
Yeah, well, very clearly, obviously. Pulling on those strings in us psychologically. And we're journeying, we're identifying with these characters.
Yes, that's right.
We journey and we resurrect with them too then.
That's right. So now we wonder if we're going to have another film about Batman and Robin because they resurrected Robin, didn't they?
Oh, there we go.
And Bruce Wayne is still alive.
Okay, great. All right, that's wonderful. Thank you. I was looking forward to hearing.
Well, we could have done it with The Lion King or with Frozen,
or even with Wonder Woman.
With Wonder Woman,
to a certain degree.
Yeah. But this one just embedded so much.
It does, yeah. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. All right, we've got the hope section coming up, because we always have a hope section where we give you some practicals to take home about this. Before we get to the hope section, however, there was another question that I did want to ask you, because I do want to bring it back more to an individual level, okay? I mean, this is the society, we go and we see these movies and we go on these huge hero journeys, but you were talking about your patients, and we were talking about that good, that struggle between good and bad, okay? So we haven't talked much about, if you take away good and bad, then basically everything is permissible, isn't it? Okay, so if everything is permissible, this is just bringing it back to a mental health, preventative mental health level. If everything's permissible, everything is not necessarily good for you, though, okay? Physically, emotionally, mentally, okay? So, I just wanted you to talk into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I suppose when I'm working with somebody in my office, firstly, it's very private.
Yeah.
Right? So when we talk here, into the ether, it's like we're trying to find an answer for absolutely everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
And we can't do that.
Yeah.
But for an individual, we can find answers.
Okay.
Right? But your premise was what? If you take away good and evil?
Well, if there's no such thing as good and evil, that everything is permissible, everything is good, basically, everything is good, so bad is good, then there's things that can still harm us. Or,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, you get into really sticky water, don't you?
Well, and the reason that we get into sticky water, I believe, is because the premise is wrong.
Right, okay, yeah.
You can't take away good and evil.
Yeah.
All right? Because you have to ask yourself the question, is it good to take away good and evil?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it may be good to relax some of the rigid rules.
Yeah.
It may be good to have some debate about the definitions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It may be good. It'd be really good if we actually got on with each other completely. That's good.
Yeah.
War tends to be evil. Mm-hmm. However, if you get a madman like Hitler wanting to take over the world, is war then justified to take him out? Well, then all of a sudden war becomes not a good thing, but a thing that needs to be done. So they're the sort of questions that we have, and we won't resolve those. But for every individual, I'll actually put it to you that there are some things that each of us would not allow ourselves to do. So in other words,
it's innate in us.
The science hasn't quite got there, but that's the belief,
and
the debate is sort of going on that there is probably something innate in all of us that goes for the good.
That goes for the good, and that's what really we've been talking about, going for the good in the hero's journey and identifying with that, and that's why we keep going back to the movies.
Okay, so let me take an example of somebody that I worked with, and I'll make this person a young male that was overcoming an amphetamine addiction.
Okay.
And we were talking about why he should do this. And we were actually debating it. We were talking about all the ins and outs. And, whenever you talk things intellectually, you will always find an argument that says this side, and somebody will always find an argument that says the other side. So in other words, intellectual debate is not always the way to go. And at the end of all of this, he goes, oh, well, I don't know what to do. And I said to him simply, I'll call him John, it's actually good to do the right thing. And then he just looked at me astoundedly and said, yeah, you're right.
Wow.
Thanks for that.
Oh, gosh, yeah. So
if I'm having trouble, can I come and see you again?
Yeah.
You bet. We'll work some.
Yeah.
So it was not through his intellect.
No,
we
definitely
got ourselves
not.
both muddled, right?
Yeah, yes.
But somehow, by just saying those sort of words, I appealed to something deeper.
Yeah.
And he didn't think about it. He just reacted.
Yeah, lovely. Just intuitively reacted.
And that's why I believe that good is in all of us. And all of us want the good, because that's why we see all these movies. Yeah. Because we win in these movies.
Yeah, so good's inscribed in us in some way then, yeah.
Well, yeah, because in life we don't win all the time.
Yeah. And it feels good to be good, and not to be good, but to achieve good things and to go for the good. It feels good to go for the good.
Yeah.
Feels good to overcome. That's exactly what it is. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So the hope?
The hope is, Okay, as far as what is good and bad, you would get a different answer from a politician, from a lawyer, from anybody.
Yeah.
From a doctor, it becomes pretty clear. When I was working in accident and emergency, sometimes at 10 o'clock at night we would get a phone call. Huge car accident, 6 injured people, estimated time of arrival, 55 minutes, right? In those 55 minutes, we had to clear beds, we had to prepare everything for resuscitation, we had to get everybody on board. We knew what we had to do. We had to save lives. We did not sit and have a discussion as to whether some people wanted to have their lives saved or not. We don't have those discussions.
Of course not,
Because the way is quite clear. Anything that leads to life is good. Anything that leads to less suffering is good. Anything that leads to death is bad. Anything that leads to more pain is bad. Now, I know that there are some of the fringes of what is pain and not, and the fringes of life as to how to, and we're debating those sort of things. But as a guiding principle, it has never let me down. When somebody comes to me depressed, I know what I have to do. We have to work so that that person is no longer depressed, so that that person is no longer suffering. And this was actually codified in the work of Albert Schweitzer. He won the 1952 Nobel Prize for his work of what he called the reverence for life. That if all of us could have a reverence for life, that underpins everything that he did, and it underpins everything that we as doctors do. And if we extend it not just to human life, but to all life, animal life, plant life, have this reverence for life. Anything that has life wants to be alive. And any body who has life not only wants to be alive, but wants to be alive really well. I want my life to flourish. I want this to happen. I want this to happen. I've got these things to say, these things that I want to experience, these relationships. If we snuff that out, then there's something wrong. So that's the hope. The hope is in life. Things that lead to life, like overcoming this virus, that's good. So choose life. That is a doctor's point of view. And it doesn't go for all cases. I can't put forward something that... No. We always know there's those exceptions. But for yourself. For yourself on an individual level. On an individual level, right? Life is good, and living fuller and flourishing as a person, it's good. That's why we see hero movies. That's right. Challenge. The challenge is to find something to overcome. Okay. Well, find something. I'm sure you can think of some things to overcome. I can think of so many things I need to overcome. But we've just been in the superhero league. True. We've all got that feeling of wanting to save the world, right? But we come back to little old me. All right? Little old me may have to just get out of bed in the morning and find something useful to do. Or little old me may need to overcome just a depressed mood, okay? Or little old me may need to get onto the internet and find out, what can I do to overcome anxiety in my life just a little bit more? Or little old me does not have a good relationship with my brother at the moment. Maybe I should give him a phone call, okay? Or little old me is, has been arguing a lot with a friend or a love partner and decides that this time they won't criticize straight off. That's right. Something like that. That's right. So all on an individual level. Overcoming. So there's your challenge, okay? Just to make your own life, and that way, the life of the whole world, just a little bit better. Wonderful. That's good. Okay, a little bit at a time, each of us. Good. Okay. And go to movies. Enjoy them. Enjoy your action movies. I'm going to certainly enjoy my action movies a bit more after this. Okay. A little bit of housekeeping before we have our last play out song. If you enjoy our videos, please subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications, and put the thumbs up if you like our material, and tell other people about it too. A little bit of news I want to share with you this week. Earlier this week, Christian had a rigorous accreditation, so he is now a certified virtual presenter. So what that, with e-speakers, so what that basically means is from our studio, he can speak to anywhere in the world. So if you have a company or an organization that you would like him to speak at on preventative mental health or anything that's under that banner, which is quite
large,
It's big.
different
really
things
big.
about the brain and COVID and all of that. There's so many things there. You can certainly book him through eSpeakers, and we can come to you from Australia to anywhere, right into your company or whatever, which would be really fun. So he's actually now booking speaking engagements for 2021. You just go onto our website and go into the contacts page, and you'll see a link to the eSpeakers site there. So you got your certification now. Feeling very certified. Okay, so glad you could join us. We're going to play it out with a song.
And this song, we're going to the 1940s. It is a jazz standard, because I haven't played jazz for a while, by Duke Ellington. There's not much to say about this song because I think the title says it all.
Okay.
This is my version of I've Got It Bad and That Ain't Good.
Dr. Christian Heim for Late Night Lies. We'll see you next week.